This is the special activation. That's a gray wolf.
That's awful close.
Parks on the air. Hello, Kilo Echo Zero Victor India. Mike is the call and Mike is the handle. I am on my way in to activate Kilo 0059 Rocky Mountain National Park. So you want to activate POTA. This is going to be a series of videos, 5 I think, and we will just give a brief overview of what it takes in general to activate a POTA park. Gonna keep it nice and short and sweet. Hey, the first thing you know about POTA, the greatest thing about it, it is simple. It is kept simple for a reason. It is meant to be simple and fun. So don't do anything too complicated. The rules are simple. You and all of your equipment have to be inside a park boundary for a park that is designated within the Parks on the Air system, which is generally going to be any parks run by a state or a federal entity. That's rule number 1. Then rule number 2, the goal is to make 10 legitimate ham radio contacts from within that park. The only stipulation is you cannot use terrestrial repeaters. Now we specify terrestrial repeaters because there are repeaters in orbit above the Earth, and you can legitimately use those in Parks on the Air. So that's one of the very few kind of technical rules to remember. Otherwise, all you got to do is have yourself and all your equipment inside a park and make 10 legitimate ham radio contacts. Notice, I did not say 10 legitimate POTA contacts. You do not have to contact 10 people within the Parks on the Air system. They do not have to be 10 contacts with people registered within Parks on the Air. It can be any 10 radio contacts. You don't have to call CQ Parks on the Air at all. You could just show up in a park and maybe you just want to participate in a state's QSO party. That counts. Whatever exchange information you need to do for that QSO party, do it. And then you submit your logs to Parks on the Air and you're golden. The only thing that is required on your log for Parks on the Air is a call sign, time of day, date, the band and the mode. That's it. You don't have to have a signal report. You don't have to know what state they're in. When we are running POTA, we will generally exchange. The hunters will tell you what state they're in. They'll give you a signal report and you'll give them one back too. I think that's just good general ham practice so you know where your signal's getting and how well it's getting there. It don't matter other than that. You do not have to submit that for your log. And as the activator, you must submit your log. You're the only one submitting a log. Even if you do not get your 10 contacts and you fail, everyone hates that word, you fail your activation, submit the logs. I've had a couple that I have failed. There was one where I got 8 contacts. Hey, there's 8 people that got that park, and it was kind of a rare one, so that was good for them. And having a failed activation on your record is not that big a deal. It does absolutely nothing. And you still get credit for contacts. And if you got park-to-park contacts within that, you'll still get credit for hunting those parks. So always submit your log. There's only one time I did not submit my log as an activator, and that's because I was just in a horrible position, in horrible conditions, and I got 0 contacts. That's the only time I've never done it. And I think if I did, they just would have asked me what the heck I was doing and thrown it out. Uh-oh, we got people standing here. What do we got? Hang on, I can drive through a national park. We got wildlife. Anytime you see a bunch of cars on the side of the road of a national park, wildlife. We got a moose. And that is exactly why I like doing this. Family and I toured this park a few days ago. We didn't see any wildlife. I come in here for an activation, I see a moose. Did the same thing with humpback whales at Cape Cod. I saw them because I went out again on an activation. God bless Parks on the Air. Okay, so where were we? Let's talk about n-fers. That's always a big question. n-fers. What is a n-fer? What constitutes a n-fer? Well, first thing I guess we should cover are the entities, the parks, that don't involve boundaries, okay? Let's say you want to activate the Oregon Trail or the Appalachian Trail. They don't have boundaries, it's just a trail. So in those cases, with those entities where there aren't boundaries, you have to be within 100 feet of that trail. Now what happens a lot of times is those trails will pass through state and national parks. So from one location, you could legitimately activate either one of those parks. So for me, that's the pH test. Can I say that 100% certain I can legitimately activate either one of those parks standing in this location? If that's the case, go for it. If you're in doubt at all, just activate one and then get 10 or 12 contacts and then activate the other. You'll still activate them both. At least for you as an activator, you can still get them both and it's fine. So if you're nervous at all about activating for the first time, if you're worried about dealing with a pileup, that with the popularity of the program today is certainly a possibility. It's fun, but it can be intimidating at first. After a while, no big deal. But it might take you a little while to get used to it. If that worries you and that's slowing you down, just do what we call the stealth activation, where you're just, like I said, you're working a QSO party. And you're not even calling CQ POTA. No one even knows you're activating a park. It doesn't matter. Again, you don't need any official exchange. You just need to report a call sign at a time of day on a band using a mode. And you're good on POTA. Just do it that way. You can hunt other parks and not even tell them it's a park to park. I wouldn't do that. I would say park to park. It's their frequency. You're not going to get the pile up. And boy, that'll get you in fast. And that's fun, especially like we have this weekend, this coming weekend is a Support Your Parks weekend. And there's one for each season, they're quarterly. This is the summer Support Your Parks weekend. There's going to be a lot of people out activating. So much so it might be hard to find space. It is so much fun to bust all those pileups with that magic bullet. I say Kilo Echo 0, Victor India Mike, park to park. And I cut through 30 or 40 other people trying to get in, and it's a blast. That'd be a great way to get your first activation also. It'd be super easy, no pressure. You know, you can make it easy on yourself to where you don't have to do that much. We got another moose here. Got something else.
Thank you.
Mama's in there somewhere. No, you want to get up and walk around. And there's another one. We got to see a baby moose for about 5 or 10 minutes. Hoping Mom would come out, but nothing doing there. They're still kind of laying down for the afternoon, it looks like. I'm sure she's not too far away. POTA, baby. It's great. It's great. So everything else involving rules and Parks on the Air is your standard ham radio rules. The laws that we still have to follow as ham radio operators. You know, obvious stuff. you guys still got to follow the laws and all the rules of the parks that you're activating. So if it's closed and people ain't supposed to be there, you shouldn't be there activating. Now there's one other thing that really isn't rule oriented, but it's a question that always comes up right away. As soon as someone thinks about activating, they look in there, they know some parks nearby from where they live. They look on POTA maps and don't see them on there. And then they ask, how can I get my park added? Okay, two things. One, remember, it's only going to be for parks that are run by state and federal entities. Your county parks ain't going to cut it, and the city parks aren't either. They're not going to be in the POTA system. You're not going to be able to activate them. Feel free to take your equipment there and operate from within the park. If you need to get away from a high noise flow in your house, that still might be a really good option, and you can hunt parks from in that park. You just can't say you're activating a park, and you can't say park to park because you're not in an official POTA entity. You can still operate from within the park. But that's one point. The second point is that there is a moratorium right now on adding parks in the U.S. There are so many parks already, and I know that's going to elicit a comment. And there are so many still out there that still have not been activated. They're just putting a halt on any new parks. Now you can submit. You have mapping representatives in your state, and you can find who that is and their email address on the POTA website. Not POTA app, but I think it's parksontheair.com. And you could submit something to them. I submitted something to the mapping representative in Arizona because there was a picnic area, a national recreation picnic area called Indian Bread Rocks in southeastern Arizona, down by Bowie, Arizona. Really cool place. It would be cool to go activate. It's not an entity. Well, I submit for a new park, but my expectations are set that I'm not going to be sitting around waiting for that one to become a park. You know, in 2 years, we might be back there again when we travel west again. Maybe it'll be a park by then. I doubt it. That's kind of where we're at right now. So if it's 45 minutes to an hour to activate a park where you're at, that's where you're at. And you're going to have to make a day trip out of it to actually activate. But again, you can always operate radio from within a local park. I don't think that's what you're after, though, if you're watching this video. So just have the right expectations that to activate, you may have to make a road trip. And you're going to hear from all kinds of other people that say they activate on their lunch break at work because they just happen to have an entity nearby, or one that they can activate every day on their way home just from their car. They pull in the parking lot, they got their whole rig set up, and all they got to do is flip the radio on. You know, that's life. They got it made, and you may have to do more work. I am generally driving a decent amount myself. Today was relatively quick. I'm about 10 or 15 minutes and I'm in the park. But I tend to activate some big parks too. I'm going to be driving for about 30 minutes within Rocky Mountain National Park to get to where I want to activate, which is up high. So I'm a big believer in expectation control. So I want to get that in this first video here for your expectations, so you have the right expectations going forward. And I always try to turn everything into a positive. It's, you know, a half a day to a day that you totally get away if it's that far away. And I'm driving a big heavy diesel pickup that pulls an 8-ton RV. So you know, I'm not very fuel efficient on these long trips. That's what I got. That's life. I deal with it, and I go out and have a blast. Okay, so one of the issues that we should discuss that has become a little bit convoluted is this whole notion of late shifts and early shifts. the way it used to be is there was a late shift award, and it was universal after midnight UTC. That was considered late shift, I think, for 12 hours. And that was to get more people to activate and hunt in the evening hours. And that made a lot of sense for operation from within the United States. What happened is that Parks on the Air became a very international program. And it got to where it didn't make sense anymore, because, you know, even in places like in Hawaii that are still part of the United States, it'd be like noon and they'd be on late shift. So they changed that system so it is late shift as per the local time within the park. Now that gets convoluted because you have some parks that are pretty big and cover multiple states and time zones. You have trails that might go through 5 or 6 states, and I mean big western states. So defining on a park by park basis what's a late shift, and then they added on the early shift is kind of convoluted, but I think they just had to do what they had to do. And now what you need to do whenever you're activating a park, if you want to know what is defined as late shift and early shift at that park, you need to go onto the POTA app page, look up the page for that park, and it will give you the specific time. There's a crazy calculation based on longitude and all that. You don't have to worry about that at all. You can just look it up on the page and it's that easy. But, you know, it's just one of those things. If you want to keep it simple, you don't even have to pay attention to it really, and you'll get some. If you're working past, you know, you're working past 0 or 1 or 2 UTC. Then there is the whole thing about what is a POTA day. So when you submit your logs, the Parks on the Air system will automatically break your contacts down into the POTA day that they were done on. So a lot of times, like now, I'm going up in the late afternoon, and I will be activating over the midnight UTC hour. So what's going to happen is at midnight UTC, I'm going to start a brand new activation. So you got to be conscious of this. If you activate over that hour, you don't want to get your 10 contacts and then find out that 5 of them were before the midnight hour UTC and 5 of them were after, because you get 2 failed activations and you won't get the park. The good thing about it is you can get 2 activations out of it if you can get more than 10 contacts on either side of the midnight hour. And that's usually some busy time. That's usually time when propagation is good. So that works out really well. And then all of a sudden, as soon as it hits that midnight hour, you'll start hearing call signs over again, because the shrewd hunter is going to know that it's a new day, and they're going to go back through and start making contacts again with the same parks that they've already talked to, because it's a new day. And if it's a new day, a new park, a new band, a new mode, a new state, a new operator, any of those things change, it's a new contact. So I could be activating Yellowstone National Park in Montana, right at the northern gate there at Gardner, Montana. And I could drive then a few miles into the park and start all over again and make contacts with the same people, because now it is a new activation. Even though I'm in the same park, even though I'm in the same band, the same mode, I've just switched states. You change any of those things, it's a new activation. Hey, I hope this video does you some good. I'm excited to get up and do this activation today. I hope you're excited to get one done yourself. It's a lot of fun. It did take me a while to kind of get settled in and feel comfortable as an activator. So if it takes you a little while, don't let that bother you. Like I said, go after the easy start and gradually work your way up. You know, you might find a way to cull the herd by maybe using a band that you don't think is going to get as many people. You can operate at a time of day that you don't think will get many people. That one might backfire on you, though. I can tell you, unless you're late at night, very early in the morning. I used to think mid-afternoon on a Tuesday, and it wouldn't be very busy, and I'll get mobbed. They gang up on me. But you'll get comfortable with that. You look forward to it. Don't let that worry you. So we'll have 4 more parts to this series. If this was helpful for you, give me the like, give me the subscribe. And then we will be back to discuss research and getting ready to activate. Alright, so this is going to be a pickup truck operation. CQ, parks on the air. Kilo Echo 0, Victor, India, Mike.
Kilo Delta 4, Bravo Romeo.
You know you're in a different place when there's literally a sign that says the tundra is closed.